apologize the delay that we had there. My name is Tim Watts, annuity sales director, team lead of our blue team over here. I'm joined by Griffin Gajero today and Rob Markovitz. Rob is going to present over some fantastic appointment options in three main spaces: that K through 12 educational space, 403B, your university and local and state government workers, 457, and then we've got federal options here for you as well. We are going to share a few things about us over here at IAMS before we go through a little conversation here between myself and Rob and talk to you about some of the options that we have over here. So first thing I want to highlight today is our best-in-class customer service. We answer that phone with a live person during those business hours, and our goal is to get you taken care of right away with a trained person who can help you out. That number again, 800-255-5055. With that being said, I'm going to turn the floor over here to Griffin.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Griffin Gajero, and I'm an annuity sales rep here at IAMS. So the first thing I'm going to tell you guys about here today is our new producer builders. And they're for those of you who are new to us here at IAMS. These bonuses are available based on your production level in your first 180 days of contracting with us. We have great levels that you can qualify for, as you can see. Inside each level, there's some great options for you. We got some incredible business building tools, personal perks, and even some cash rewards available. So if you'd like to know where you stand towards your new producer builder, or if you would just like to have a conversation about how to achieve that next level, please give us a call or contact your sales director. Another business builder program that we provide for our agents is our referred producer program. Looks like I see a couple of advisors on with us here today that have taken advantage of this program. Our business is on the wholesale side of the industry, very similar to yours in the field, that one of the best leads we could ever receive is a referral from one of our valued producers. So that's why we really want to make it worth your while to refer a producer to us. When you refer a producer to us and they get contracted, we'll actually cut you a $50 thank you check. But where the real money comes in is when your referral writes business, and you'll receive an override on that business. Our ownership team, Charles, Steve, Curtis, and Chris, sign checks for thousands of dollars every quarter. With that being said, if you can think of anyone that could benefit from doing business with us and our team, please send their information over to us via email after this webinar today. And below that is our marketing reimbursement program, which is our most popular program that we offer. For every $100,000 in FIA premium, you get $100 back in marketing reimbursement. Why this is so popular and lucrative for our advisors is that we truly do consider this to be your money. You have the flexibility on what services, when, and who you use these funds with. It really is your marketing reimbursement. We don't tell you what vendors you have to use. Of course, we do have some recommended vendors that we do partner with and can leverage some reduced rates and some preferred services. We also have a creative team to create a marketing strategy and provide in-house services for you as well. So if you'd like to hear a little bit more about the marketing reimbursement account, you can most certainly reach out to your sales director or give us a call after this webinar today. Back office support is another way that we can add value to your practice. This is the core of IAMS and how Charles Euring founded us years ago. We want to help the independent advisor work smarter and not harder. We are going to do that with great business building tools and resources. Of course, advanced case design assistance, life and annuity quotes is another area that we can assist with as well. We're going to get you those illustrations that you request within 24 hours. And to be completely honest, it's going to be a heck of a lot faster than that, usually within the hours. So submission and commission support is handled by our new business teams. Mackenzie heads the annuity team and Michelle heads the life side. They have fantastic teams who work tirelessly to help you get commission quicker. We'll scrub those applications, submit them on your behalf, do the administrative tracking, and get you those updates on your cases as needed. We do this to ensure that you get commissioned as quick as possible, and this is just another service that we can provide for you and how we can help you grow and scale your practice and keep you in front of your clients while our teams handle the back office stuff for you. Our website is another fantastic tool that our producers can use and another great reason to work with IMES. Once you're contracted, you'll have full access to everything you see on the slide and a whole lot more at imesinc.com. If you haven't registered for the website, it's real simple to do so. And we're done with this call. Go ahead and create an account. We'd love to see you on there. A lot of great resources are available to you, including illustration tools, online forms, product grids, and product news, as well as industry updates out there. Technology, of course, it's where the industry is going, and Luma is our newest partnership to streamline the application process. Most of our carriers are now on the Luma Firelight eApp platform, so you can go on the one site to submit your business. Some carriers are even going to eApp only for some of their product lines, and they'll also offer a little bit extra comp for utilizing the eApp platform. So make sure you speak to your sales director before you submit a paper app. See if you can earn some more by utilizing those eApp platforms. We do also have a full in-house creative team where we can help you your practice with a lot of items that are both turnkey and available to you right away. So many of our sales resources are white labeled, so we can then simply just impose your contact information and your business logos right onto them. And speaking of logos, our agency solutions is another area of expertise for our team. If you haven't created a full customized brand for your agency, we can most certainly help with that. This is a great way to get your name recognition out there, which helps you grow your market organically. And then lastly, digital marketing solutions is a very popular topic around IMES here as of recent. So we can help you. You can help you with websites, social media marketing, email marketing, and a whole lot more. The internet and social media sites are where the overwhelming majority of our prospects go to for information. So making sure that you're accessible and represented in those marketing lanes is beneficial to growing your business. So reach out to myself or one of our sales directors when we're done with this webinar today and talk to them a little bit more about how you can access IMES Creative, and we can most certainly get the ball rolling for you. IMES also offers a complimentary marketing analysis for agents looking to explore new sales ideas and programs. Whether you're new to the industry or a seasoned producer, this is a free assessment that can help you boost your business with insights on your website, digital presence, branding, and current marketing activities, as well as recommendations on trusted vendors for everything from lead gen to seminars and social content. So reach out to your sales director to get started at any time. And one more thing from me today before I kick it back over to Tim is our IMES Wealth Management. We founded it several years ago, and we've grown this division of IMES very organically, and we've helped advisors become IARs and pass the Series 65 at a very successful clip. So once they have you registered, IMES Wealth will bring great value to your practice with incredibly competitive fee structures for both you and your clientele. We have great technology and great investment platforms as well. It's been a major growth sector for our business and assets under management, and it could absolutely be a major growth sector for your business as well. But thank you guys for listening to me today, and back over to Tim. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Griffin. Once I got myself off of mute, it's working a lot better. So Griffin lets me talk about what I think are probably some of the most fun slides here. We've got 3 trip qualifications going on right now. One in front of you here with Athene going down to Cap Cana, Dominican Republic. Sounds nice and warm to me right now, as when I came in this morning it was 13 degrees. So that qualification ends here at the end of this month. If you're wondering where you're at, give myself or your sales director a call. We'll let you know. Next is our Park City, Utah trip. This is partnered up with SILAC. Lowest barrier of entry on a trip qualification that I'm aware of at just $2 million. Still about 6 months to qualify for that. And then lastly is our trip to Nassau, Bahamas. Qualification started for this just a couple of months ago, but here's the great news is any production that you have submitted by the end of December 31st, as long as that gets paid in time to not have a stale contract, which means it'll issue there in 2026, that'll double for that trip to the Bahamas. So if you've got some cases here ready to get submitted to start your year off, let's go ahead and get those things rocking and rolling. Unless it's a cash with app, it's likely going to be issuing next year anyway. So Wondering where you're at on any of those qualifications, give myself or your sales director a call. We're also ramping up. It's literally only about a month away. We'll be in January. When January gets here, we have our IAMS Ascend Virtual Life and Annuity Academy. And then we'll have these in-person intensive trainings when we get to the March, April, May timeframe, and it starts to warm up here for us in Omaha, Nebraska. These trainings are a fantastic tool and resource for you as an agent. They're going to get you in front of around 35 to 40 other agents around the nation. So networking is one of the things that I think we shouldn't sleep on. We're also going to take a deep dive into marketing, which is one of the reasons you guys are on this call here today, to learn about marketing, how you can get in front of those clients that you work best with, the strategies that you have in your toolbox. We'll also take a deep dive into products. And then my favorite one is sales strategies, where we teach you new and innovative ways on how to position annuities and life insurance for those pre-retirement and retirement needs for your clients. If you haven't liked us on Facebook or joined us on LinkedIn, definitely go ahead and do that. Get caught up on all of those industry updates as they happen, product releases, and all of those changes that you need to know. So with that being said, I think, Rob, we said we were going to do some videos here. So I'm trying to figure out how to pull mine up, and I think we're going to go ahead and kick the floor over there to you, my friend. So I'm trying to find my camera, but I can actually see yours very well. So rock and roll, friend.
Well, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Sorry it's so cold there, Tim. Probably get a foot of snow along with it. But anyway, thank you for spending your time with us today. We know your time's valuable, and IAMS has put this together with a bunch of agents over the last few years to be able to, help you guys build your business. And, I think one of the biggest challenges, and Tim, you'd agree with me on this one, is, this business is all about activity. And I think there's too many times where agents sit there and they kind of, they try and figure out, they spend 1/3 of their day in kneecap to kneecap or Zoom face-to-face with clients or on the phone. And then they spend 2/3 of their time trying to figure out, hey, how do I get in front of somebody? We'll let IAMS take care of you and get you set up with one of these appointment systems to be able to help fill your pipeline, because it is all about activity. And I think, Tim, you'd be in agreement with that for sure.
Yeah, no, you've got to get the at-bats. And then I think the other thing is, just because they didn't pick up the phone, that's not a no. That's just the way that you try to reach out to them means that it's a not now. And many of the appointment options that we're going to talk about today, these folks are expecting your call because they've requested a call from a specialist like you. And so keeping that activity up, making sure that you're resilient on that, and then also that you have a good system in place to follow up with these leads, because you might do a pension review for them now, and guess what? They're not ready to retire, and we don't have any assets to them. But in 2 years, they might be ready to be retired. So how do you have systems in place? How do you have a team in place to help you all the way through that entire process? That's where we can really help over here at IAMS.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point on that one too, Tim, with, hey, how's the appointment set up? And what we do that's different is, most of the companies, and we have quite a few of them to choose from. The cool thing is, you'll be able to reach out to Tim and his sales team over there and get set up with one of these appointment companies. You get VIP pricing. IAMS takes care of sign-up fees, monthly access fees, all that stuff gets taken care of for you. So there's a big opportunity there. But really what's cool about most of these appointment companies is most of them, not all of them, there's one that does some phone calling. I'm not a big phone call type person on setting up appointments. So one of the cool things is when these companies reach out to a potential client, they're like, hey, Sally Sue, would you like to learn more about your pension and retirement? She's either yes or no. And if she's yes, then they continue down, so to say, the rabbit hole of, hey, would you like to know when you can retire? Would you like to know what options are available for income when you retire? Would you like to know how many more years you possibly have to work? If the client responds back, yeah, I'd like to meet with a representative about this, we're like, great. They go in then next and schedule that appointment on their calendar for a date and a time that works for them. The system grabs the appointment and it would look at the appointment and go, oh, universities in the state of Ohio, who's opted in, let's just say it's Tim and I, it would look at our calendars and go, is Rob busy if I were up first? And if Rob's busy, it would go down to the next line to the next available agent. But it does round robin to keep everything fair. I can tell you, because I know people are going to ask right away, those of you that aren't familiar with the appointment systems, is, hey, is there enough appointments? Yes, we can give you too many. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But I think the big thing is, and where there's real value at here, is these are appointments, they're not leads. So they're created, sold, delivered one time to a single agent. They're not resold. The other thing is, these companies don't give away anything for free to set up an appointment. So you as an agent don't have to worry about doing the pivot on, hey, no, I signed up to win a free iPad. You don't have to do a pivot on why they need life insurance, right? So we know your time's valuable. Tim and his team know your time's valuable, and we want to make it as productive as possible. And that's one way that we help do it, is by having that in place. So, the calendar part of these systems is really cool. They sync with multiple different calendar systems, and we're really looking for availability on your calendar. Tim can attest to the fact that we've had agents come in and go, I was buying appointments from this one company and I prepaid them all this money and blah, 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 blah. And I only got 3 appointments over the last 3 months. Well, if you leave your calendar wide open, these guys can sock 5, 6 appointments a day on your calendar. Correct, Tim? You know that for a fact as well. So, we see that happen occasionally. And so we always say, start out slow and steady. The referrals here are great. Tim makes a great point on when those initial phone calls are set up. One thing is we're dealing, and we'll talk a little bit more now about the markets, but the city, county, municipalities market, you've got the federal market, which we'll discuss a little more. You've got the K through 12 market, the educational market, and then separate from that, you have the college market. Well, if you're running college market and K through 12 market, I can tell you one thing: don't be 1 minute late on your call, because those people are built on a bell system. If you've been a professor, doesn't matter whether you're a professor or a school teacher for 15 years, you want the child in the seat, or the body in the seat, the student in the seat when the bell goes off. And so when you call that client, you're a minute late, no big deal with Tim and I, but to them, it's a disrespect thing, right? So don't get started off on the wrong foot. So I do see that sometimes with the agents that kind of take Tim's perspective on it. We see no-shows of less than 5, around 5 or 6%. It can be that low. And it's typically, you call them at the time of the appointment. Hey, Sally Sue, my name's Rob. I'm the representative that's supposed to be assisting you with your retirement concerns. I hope everything's okay. I know you scheduled this call for 10 o'clock. I'll be calling you back in exactly 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, you call back again. Usually they'll answer. Sometimes they don't know it's your number. If they don't answer, some of our clients follow the format. Hey, Sally Sue, I'm really worried about you. Like I said, I know you made this appointment for 10 o'clock. I know you're concerned about, your retirement income gap or your pension shortfall. Don't worry about it. I just want to make sure you're okay. Call me back. We can get it rescheduled. Typically, you'll get a phone call back. So that's one thing that will help you along the way. Tim, do you have any comments on that side of it at all?
Yeah, well, I've got 2 kids in high school, and I believe what they call it is tardy. And you do not want to be tardy or absent, right? So I think Rob brings up a great point, right? It's understanding your audience and knows what makes them tick. If you're working with federal employees, they're going to say a lot of acronyms, and they're going to expect you to be able to understand all those same acronyms. That's how those employees work. Educational, like Rob said, they work on a bell system. And, a lot of those educators or those folks you're meeting with don't get an hour lunch. Like, they're not leaving anywhere. They're running from one class to the next class to make sure their kids aren't causing a ruckus and nobody fell in the hallway. And then they get there and they're waiting for your call and you're 7 minutes late. Like, you got to make sure that you're speaking the language that your audience is listening to, and that you're not talking a different language. So I thought that was a great point. I think the other thing about it is it's flexible, right? So, as there's ebbs and flows in your year, maybe you just got done with Medicare and you're ready to bump it up with something. Well, this is where one of these programs that Rob and we have at our disposal over here, we can throttle those up and throttle them down, and they understand that, what your guys' life looks like. Sometimes maybe we're working with somebody who's a CPA. Well, guess what's getting ready to happen right now? Tax season. So maybe those guys would have been getting more appointments rather in the third and fourth quarter, and then they might slow down a little bit. So I think that's the other thing too to highlight is the flexibility of, hey, we can fill up your calendar, make sure it's nice and wide and open, make sure you have the bandwidth to take care of those appointments because they're going to be expecting you at that exact time to go over what they're looking for. But I thought it was a real good call out there, Rob.
Yeah, and absolutely, the calendar system is really cool because, hey, the hope is with all you on this call, it's like, hey, I'd like to win some of those trips too and go to the Dominican Republic and the Bahamas. Can't be too bad, right? The nice thing is two things. Number one is you guys are in such an opportunistic business on the part of, I unfortunately had to do some travel back and forth on the open roadway. And, I look at people, not to be, talking down on people or anything like that, but it's like a lot of people are cattle, right? And it's great. You guys are in the business. If you want to take appointments while you're in the Bahamas, you could. You don't have to, but you could. And so the thing is we have guys that live in, agents that live in Florida that take appointments in California and Washington and Oregon and whatever states you want. And so the whole U.S. is open to you. I have a client of mine that moved to Costa Rica right around towards the end of COVID or kind of in the middle end of COVID. And he takes appointments for me. He does phenomenal down there, but he moved from Denver down to Costa Rica and he's running his business like, no issues. So the opportunity is huge on that side. The other thing is, if you are a real big grinder in this business, hey, you can run through a lot of appointments. Tim, I do want to comment on one thing you said, because it is prevalent. I've had over the years, tens of thousands of clients have bought appointments from us. And how many times, I can't even count how many times I've had an agent go to me, remember that one appointment you sold me 6 months ago? And I'm like, no, or a year ago. Well, the lady's, dad died and left him $2 million. And she finally called me. She didn't have any money at the time, but case in point to what you said, Tim, hey, everybody's life changes. Everybody's situation changes. And change is really important. I think, a lot of us coming into the, Tim and I talked about delaying this into January. And, he and I kind of game planned on this before and said, let's do it in December because, it's kind of a little bit slower time. But the thing is right now is when you have to come up with your game plan for next year. And I see so many agents and so many people. I do consulting in a lot of different businesses and talk to a lot of different people, motivational speaking, whatever you want to call it, to get people to the next level. But it's like, there's a few things that happen. You have these goals, and as you go along through the year, if I could see a raise of hand, which I can't, but if I could, I guarantee if I asked you guys, hey, did you set up a financial goal for you at the beginning of the year? Well, 12 months ago, you did. You said, hey, the year before I made 100 grand, I want to make 200, or I made 200, I want to make 400, whatever that number was. Well, the only way you can get there is by changing what you're doing, becoming more efficient in what you're doing, and utilizing all the tools that we just talked about that, IMS has, building your website, doing some marketing things for you, maybe getting on some appointments from us if you need appointments, right? If you're not busy enough. And so, I think that part of the thing is a lot of agents kind of wait. And so they go, it's the holidays, I'm going to take it off. That's great. One of the reasons probably you're in the insurance business is because you do get a little bit of free time. But then you wait until, I'm going to wait until after New Year's. And then, I'm going to get a hold of Tim, the first week. And then all of a sudden, then Tim gets you all dialed in with your contracting and everything else. And then he gets you set up with me. And then you get your calendar set up. And all of a sudden it's February. Well, you just missed a whole month. So now you're already behind the 8 ball. And I think a lot of agents turn around, and a lot of people are guilty of this, but, they don't kind of keep their temperature along the way. They don't look at the scoreboard. And so I always talk about, if Tim and I are the coach of a football team, I don't walk up to Tim with a 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter and go, bro, we're 3 touchdowns behind. We got to change something. I said that to him 2 minutes into the game, and so really that's the big thing. I think having some of these opportunities for IMES to be able to help you with your business, to help take care of you, to help you get to your goals and your dreams, are great, but you got to utilize them and you got to take advantage of some of them, you know. So Tim, let's switch up a little bit and just talking about different appointments, and you know what goes on in these markets. And let's talk a little bit about products sold, because I know, you know, like the 403B thing, you know, for the school teachers, you know, is one thing. And then you've got the 401As and stuff in the universities. But there's always people looking for, you know, more life insurance, there's all these other opportunities. And there's a lot of ancillary business too with spouses, that we see, you know, the agents who do really well, it seems like they're connecting into those people as well. And you would agree with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think as far as, you know, some of the products that, I mean, you've got a full suite of those accumulation and income products. I think one thing to highlight with a lot of the folks in this space is, you know, what does your tax-free income look like in retirement, and how are you preparing for that? You know, a lot of folks have said, hey, for all these years, save tax deferred and you'll be in a lower tax bracket when you get to retirement. Well, I don't know if you know exactly where it was, but in 1999, we didn't have $38 trillion in debt. And in 1981, if you made between 26,000 and 29,000, you were considered upper middle class, and your federal tax bracket was 50%. Let me say that one more time. In 1981, if you made $26,000 to $29,000, you were considered upper middle class, and you were taxed from the federal government at 50%. So when people think that taxes could never go up, and that's not something that they want to prepare for in retirement, I think that that's just a great topic. And how does a fixed or a fixed index annuity work with that? It works perfect, right? We've got some products that will actually help pay for those folks' taxes, and we can offset it with that. So you've got innovative solutions over here, a full product lineup that you can help them out with. And you know, with working with us and number of carriers that we have, you're going to be able to offer them, you know, especially for their spouses, and what you're able to do with those old 403Bs or old 401Ks. I mean, just a tremendous amount of different options for them. So, Rob, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think are the top 3 myths about this industry, specifically to these types of appointments? Maybe it's, you know, something that agents think that is bad, that's actually there is good in it, or maybe it's something that, you know, there's a perception of it's all going to be roses and sunshine. But, you know, and I think part of that is, hey, you can't be late to a meeting with a teacher, right? That's one of those things that, you know, there might be a myth that you can, it's okay to be 5 minutes late, but it's not. But, you know, maybe where there are a couple other things that, you know, guys out there haven't been in the industry yet have thoughts.
You know, I mean, there's always good and bad, and it's no different than, you know, the clients you already have, you know, as far as people like the no-shows thing, you know, that can be an issue for some agents, you know. But I have friends that I've had for 10, 15, 20 years, and I go, come meet me for lunch. And sometimes they no-show me, right? So, you know, that's part of life, and part of it happens, things get in the way. But I would say in general, you know, really where the big opportunity lies, I really think the biggest challenge when I talk to agents is, hey, if I said to them, you know, to any of your people, Tim, you know, that are associated with IMES even, you know, hey, what are the biggest challenges in the financial service industry? What are your biggest challenge? Number one, I always hear, you know, meeting a new client, you know. And it's funny, I was talking to a group of people, not in the insurance industry, but there were 10,000 of them. And somebody said, meeting a new client. I'm like, meeting a new client's, you know, not that hard. And I stepped off stage and I go, hi, my name's Rob. And I think the guy's name was Peter. And he goes, hi, I'm Peter. And I go, I now know Peter. So meeting somebody isn't an issue. Getting them in the financial services industry to pass their finances across the table, I think, is really the big challenge. And one of the cool things about these appointments, like I said, they're set up to do pension retirement reviews. So during the pension retirement review, what do they have to do? They've got to open their finances up to you. And what a lot of people don't realize, the other opportunity in this business is, you know, I would say, you know, 85 to 91, 92% of the people that participate in any type of pension, whether it's a, you know, police officer, a fireman, a city, county, municipal worker, a federal employee, a state employee, a school teacher, a professor, whatever, 90% of them have no clue about what their pension really is. And for those of you that don't realize where that opportunity lies, most of these states have a pension shortfall, and it's typically between 30 and 60%. And so back to kind of what Tim said to answer some of your questions, I think really where that opportunity lies is with the tax thing, hey, Sally Sue, look, yeah, maybe they've got their pension, right? They know that. Maybe they did start up a 403B or a 401A. They have that, but both of those are going to be taxed. Sally, maybe they have a financial planner. That's the other thing is the other biggest, and I would say, Tim, biggest opportunity on these appointments is, for those of you that have ever met with a client, the client goes, I already have a financial planner. It's like a punch in the gut. The cool thing about this is going, hey, no problem, but I'm here to meet about your pension. Has your financial advisor ever gone over your pension? And back to a different group I was speaking to, this was pre-COVID, but another group, very large, 10 to 15,000 insurance agents. I asked that question, hey, raise your hand if you have a school teacher, somebody that participates in a pension, you get the point, raise your hand. And I go, keep your hand up if you've ever reviewed their pension. I had 5 hands in the air out of over 10,000 people that had ever reviewed their pension. So that's a huge opportunity to be able to go in there and go, oh, hey, well, your financial advisor, he didn't, you think you're going to retire with 80 grand from your pension? He didn't tell you it's only 42 grand. He didn't tell you there's a $38,000 shortfall. She didn't tell you that, didn't put anything in place to cover that shortfall. That's an opportunity, right? Because Tim, as you well know, it's not only about products, but this business is about knowledge, and those who have the knowledge, sort of like what you just said in 1981 about taxes, that's good knowledge, right? To have, to be able to pass along to somebody to educate them. So I would say, the could be bad side of it would be, hey, are you going to get some brand new school teachers? Yes. But I mean, even that's an opportunity, not everybody has a ton of money, but there's more school teachers married to millionaires than any other profession. And the thing is, it's how do you get into their spouses and writing that ancillary business? And that's where some of it is. We've had some unicorns, I had an agent one time call me and he said to me, he goes, hey, why do you keep giving me librarians? And it's like, he's sitting there thinking, these companies between all of them are probably making close to 2,000 appointments a day. I don't think I'm sitting there delivering appointments to an agent's calendar. And do I know what they are? But, he called me back after that appointment with the librarian. It was down in Texas, and apologized. And he goes, yeah, she was the former COO of Dell, and she was volunteering time as a librarian. She gave me $2 million. She had $7 million laying there. I mean, unicorn, right? But it happens. So, it's don't judge the book by its cover, right? And, opportunities everywhere. On that side of it, you'll be surprised how frugal some of these people are. And like I said, sometimes bad side, sometimes you're going to run into somebody that doesn't have anything, but everybody's life changes. These people, they grow up, they get married, then they have kids. Each one of those changes in people's lives are an opportunity for you to sell more insurance, right? And, as life changes, most people make more money as life changes, as they go on through the years. I mean, that's the typical thing. But I mean, I believe the opportunity. I mean, I've got agents that have been buying K through 12 appointments for me for years and years. And for those of you out there going, oh, school teachers K through 12 that make $500,000-$600,000 a year, year after year after year after year in income. So for those of you not making $500,000 or $600,000 a year, don't look down your nose at those people. It's just becoming educated in that market and really working it, and that's where the opportunity lies. But Tim, to the quality of appointment side, I mean, I have agents ask me all the time, and you've asked me this a long time ago, is, hey, is it better in the K through 12 market or the college market? For every time I pick up the phone and an agent goes, man, these K through 12 appointments are horrible, but I love these college appointments. I swear I'll hang up the phone and the next person says the exact opposite. So, you just never know what flavor that's going to bring to you, So, Tim, we have any more questions you see coming through?
Yeah, no, definitely some more to talk about. So we've talked a little bit about the K through 12 and the college. Let's talk about federal appointments and some of those options, because that's going to be a different kind of scenario. And the nice thing about the federal space is you could still work in multiple different states, just like you can with the educators and the small colleges or the colleges. But now you don't have to learn the different pension plans for each state, right? So
Yeah.
federal might have if you've had some success in education and you'd like to, make a pivot, that might be a good spot for you, or federal might be a good spot for you to take a land there too. So kind of unpack the federal options and maybe why it'd be a good time to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, the federal opportunity is a good opportunity. It is a little bit more of a compressed market. The appointment costs are a little bit higher. They're not substantially, but they're a little bit higher. But the good thing about all of it is it doesn't matter whether you have a client from, just like you said, Tim, from Florida, Ohio, or Michigan, right? The pension's the same, because it's a federal pension. And so that does make it a little bit easier process-wise compared to if you were taking, hey, I'm going to get appointments at the University of Michigan and I'm going to get appointments at Ohio State University. So Ohio, the state of Ohio, the state of Michigan. And, those two pension systems are different. So a person would have to learn that, where in the federal side, they don't. As far as, value on appointments, I mean, one of the cool things, Tim, and I think you guys still have that federal training program. I believe you guys do, correct?
Yep, we sure do. Yeah, our federal bridge program
for everybody. And so, hey, if you need to be trained up in how the federal process works, an old client of mine that's been buying appointments from me for about 10 years actually built a training program that's been buying federal appointments for me for about 10 years, built a federal training program exclusively for IMES that they have access to, that Tim can give you access to. So that can be another really big opportunity. But I think the biggest thing there is, it makes it easy to go to a lot of states on that side, Tim, or easier to figure it out. Now, there is software like Retire Ready software is a great software if you want to get into the K through 12 and college market that will graph out some stuff and be able to do pension calculations state by state, and they have all that built in. But that part of it's fairly easy if you need to navigate those waters.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, yeah, and I think you just brought up a good point, is to do these pension reviews for the prospects, you need a software, unless you've actually worked in that school district or that state and it. If you worked there for 30 years, I digress. But if you haven't, make sure that you budget that into your marketing, because you have to have something to show them. And some of these people are going to ask you questions, and really what you're looking to do in that first meeting is answer their question, but also ask them a few questions that encourages them to come meet with you again, right? But you need to be a tool of resource. You can't be, if you go in there and you immediately sit down to that appointment and you're like, hey, Mr. Bill, thank you for meeting here today. What I do is sell annuities and life insurance, and I'm really excited to get you in one of those products. Guys, that's not going to work.
No.
These people are coming to you for advice and for knowledge on their retirement that they're not currently getting. It's a couple appointment development before you're going to get that sale. And that's one thing I wanted to highlight to people too. Not only, if they don't show up for that time, yes, give them a phone call, then give them another call in a couple of minutes. And then maybe an email and a call the next morning, and then you can mark it as a no-show. But I bet a lot of those times you're gonna meet with them. But the same thing with the appointment. There is a process to them, and they're going to have questions for you that they expect you to answer. So, like a Retire Ready or another software is going to be critical to being impactful.
Yeah, I think on that side you make a great point. Most of these are 2 or 3 appointment closers. One of the other things is that's a huge opportunity, and this would be true. Like I said, when I do my talking, consulting, whatever you want to call it, for companies out there, this is true of any client you meet with, not just an appointment, whether you buy one or not. Is that, making sure you ask for referrals. The referrals in this industry can be huge, and there's nothing better than a referral. I have some agents that come to me and goes, one time he's like, hey, my appointment cost is is only, and you guys have got an inside deal, but I'm going to tell you what he told me. He goes, hey, I'm only paying, these appointments are only costing me $25 an appointment. And I'm like, $25 an appointment? What do you mean you're paying over $100? I'm thinking in my mind, you're paying over $100 an appointment. And he goes, no, because he goes, every appointment I go on, I always ask for referrals, and I usually get 4 or 5 people out of each referral, you know? So out of each appointment, I get about 4 or 5 referrals. So in his mind, he's thinking like, hey, if I go on an appointment, it's $125, which you are not paying that much for these appointments, by the way, through Tim and Imes. But he's like, if I can get 5 referrals out of each one, I just knock my appointment cost down to $25 a piece. That's how he looked at it in his mind. But he was making sure he asked for those referrals. So I think that's an important piece. The other thing is what Tim really said is prevalent, again, whether it's appointments or not, you know, to your business is, you know, one place I see some agents kind of struggle a little bit is like, oh, I did really good on my first appointment, but I didn't do very well on my second. They didn't show, or, you know, I haven't got in touch with them again. Well, learning how to schedule an appointment, your second appointment, is very important. And I always tell agents, look, the goal of the first appointment is to set a second appointment. That's what the goal is, right? And a lot of agents will say all the right things. Hey, Tim, yeah, don't worry about your shortfall. I'm going to get it taken care of. I'm going to go back to my office, meet with my teammates, and find out what the best upgrades, what the best options are for you. And I'll get back to you. You know, that's wrong. You know, it's like, hey, I'm going to find out what the best upgrades and options are. I'm available, you know, this Thursday or Friday at either 3 or 4 o'clock, which day and time works, right? And, you know, you guys have been in this business, those that have been in this business for a while, you know, you've got to expect pushback. And it's good when you have the mindset to be able to expect it coming at you before it happens. Meaning, if I said to Tim, hey, yeah, I'm available this Thursday or Friday at either 3 or 4 o'clock, which day and time works best, I know Tim is going to give me pushback and go, well, why don't you just get the numbers together and then you just call me? And, you know, Tim, I get really busy with a bunch of these other school teachers, and, you know, I want to make sure we're not using the Walmart greeter plan to fill in your pension shortfall, right? And everybody knows what a Walmart greeter is. And so I want to make sure you're not using the Walmart greeter. You know, I get super busy. Let me just pencil you in for 3 o'clock on Thursday. If something comes up, we'll get it rescheduled. We'll plan on hearing me from 3 o'clock on Thursday. I got to go. I've got another teacher just like you waiting for me to help them, right? And so that's being able how to do it, you know, is learning how to schedule that appropriately, you know. And you don't ask for an appointment. You know, business is about called show and tell. It's not tell and show, you know, and all the credentialing and all these, you know, big things you have behind your last name. And you know, it's great to be able to go out and do that. You know, I mean, I've got a long topic on that. And for those of you that look at my salutation on my name, it says GID and GSD, and people go, what's a GID? And I go, it's great to go get your MBA, right? And go get in the insurance business. You can get more initials behind your last name than your last name is long. But what's important is just go get it done. That's a GID, right? We all have them. Get it done. And the people are expecting you to give them knowledge. They don't want to know. And that's kind of what you just talked about, Tim, that I think is really important. And that's what makes the difference when somebody goes, if Tim sits in front of me and goes, oh yeah, you know, well, Rob, do you think taxes are going to go up? No, you know, I don't. Well, did you realize in 1981, blah, 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 and spiels that out on me? I'm like, wow, really? Well, what else does this Tim guy know that I don't know, right? What other value can Tim give me that I don't know about an annuity, about a this, about a that? So being an expert in these areas is important, and it's important to learn, you know, to take you.
Awesome. Well, hey, we've got just a couple more minutes. There was a spammer in our question. So if you're out there and you've got a question, if you've asked it and we didn't ask it on here, please ask it again, because there was 109 of them on there. So I've cleaned all those ones out, so we should have some time for some fresh ones. But Rob, they want to know, why aren't we talking about the specific options that we have today? Obviously, we haven't you know, gone into too many of the specifics, but let's, you know, give them little ideas on, you know, what does the next steps look like and how would we determine which programs would be best for them?
Right. And so, when Tim and I do these, we don't really talk to you about, hey, XYZ appointment company, and we don't really talk about names because we need to meet with you on an individual basis. And, so the next step's pretty easy. Reach out to Tim, reach out to Tim's team, right? Really easy. Pick up the phone, take the initiative, go get it done. And, start talking to him. Hey, Tim, I think I'm interested in, the university market. And, you can run multiple markets too. That's the other thing. And from there, Tim will connect you directly to me. And then I will call you and we'll go over what your thoughts and what your expectations are. And based off of that, I'll line you up with one of the appointment companies that I think fits you the best. Um, Tim, do we want to talk about opening price point and all for you guys at least and what's offered out there? Should we mention that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I think that'd be good.
because of your association with IMES, they have appointments starting as low as $64 an appointment to get you guys up and running. So that's pretty damn cheap for an appointment. Like I said, they're not being resold. That's a VIP offer through IMES. And like I said, Tim can help you, you move to the next level. And whether it's, hey, I want to go, like I said, no, you're not going to get federal appointments for $65. They are more. But if you want to get into the K through 12, the college, the city, county, municipalities, the city, county, municipality market's kind of been coming on. And Tim, I know you and I had a little conversation about that a week or two ago, but we seem to be seeing a little bit more action, there. And I think, people are becoming a little bit more concerned about, hey, with the economies and what's going on in the world, they're starting to become a little bit more about, hey, what does my retirement look like? What do I need to do to get prepared? I can tell you, some logistics as far as numbers goes, like in the K through 12 market, the average age of a client we see there is about 43, 44 years old, to give you an idea. And it's typically because most people wait. Most people don't, most people aren't 22 and go, hey, yeah, I'm going to start saving for my retirement. Most people wait and they kind of hit the age of 40 and they're like, oh shit, one day I better start thinking about retirement. I better set up a meeting, So, the sooner you get a hold of somebody, the better it is. The other thing is, a lot of these companies and I think, kind of just pass you off to be able to, NIMES is a little bit different this way, they're setting you up to seek, clients, not customers. So it's not one and done burn thing, and the thing is, if you can create a lifetime of clients, you just created a lifetime of revenue. And that's really what makes the difference in your business. Because the other thing is, you don't want to live in that, part of the insurance business once in a while can be, home run, strikeout, home run, strikeout. I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm rich, I'm poor. Well, it's usually because your pipeline gets too low, and you're not keeping that pipeline full. So ideally, I would tell people, hey, reach out to Tim, we'll get you set up. There's no minimums, there's no maximums on appointments, there's no contracts with most of the companies. We have one there is a little bit of a contract with, but most of them, hey, if you want to jump on there and you go, hey, I'm going to take, my suggestion would be starting out with, 5, 6 appointments a week and start building it from there. And some people are comfortable taking 5 appointments a day. I think that's a lot, but I do have agents that do it. And some clients are like, hey, I'm going to take 5 a week and make sure I'm asking for referrals. So, if you took, 5, 6 appointments a week and just say out of 3 of them, you got, another 5 referrals out of each one of those 3, that's another 15 appointments. Your calendar's already filled up, plus you're booking seconds. And that's when your business really starts rolling. So I think that's the big opportunity.
Gotcha. Okay, here's our last question. If K through 12 average age of prospects is 40 to 43, talk to me about the potential of business that you could do with that type of age band of prospect.
So, there's what happens in that 403B market once you really dwell into it. There's a few things. There is what's called a payroll slot in there. Typically just a quick walkthrough on an appointment. What happens? You walk in, hey, and I'm really compressing this just for time's sake, but hey, Sally Sue, what do you think you're going to retire with? Sally Sue has no idea. Give me a guess. And she goes, 80 grand a year. And you're like, well, Sally, you told me I had a financial advisor. Did he go over this with you? No. Why? Well, can you retire on 42,000 a year? There's what's called a pension shortfall. No, I didn't realize that. Well, let me take you through it. And you take them through the calculation of what that pension shortfall looks like. And during that pension shortfall calculation, of course, you're like, I can't believe your advisor didn't go over this. At the end of it, it's good news, bad news. Hey, Sally, look, the good news is you have a little over half your expectation. The bad news is you're 38,000 short. What did your advisor put in place to cover the 38 grand? Nothing. What do you have in place? Nothing. And then it's help. From there, really what happens, there's a few things. School districts have a 403B payroll slot. If you happen to be appointed with, like, say it's North American, for example, and that school district has North American in it, you could start up a 403B for that person, and you get paid on it, and you get flow business paid on it because she's doing a pre-tax payroll deduction. You might run into that school teacher. She may have a 403B already established. She's 43 years old. She's been putting away money since she's 20. She has, let's just say, we'll go back to North American. Let's say that school district has Voya and North American, and you happen to be appointed with North American. Well, North American probably has some 403 bonus incentives going on their 403B plans. Most of the 403B providers do, and that's something Tim can help getting you lined up with. But in that scenario, if you happen to be appointed with North American, you could turn around to Sally and go, hey, Sally, the 100,000 you've got in Voya? Yeah, well, there's another retirement vehicle available through the school district, and it's with North American, and they've got a bonus incentive going on of 6% right now. And, it's going to turn your 100,000 into 105. And the reason it doesn't turn into 106 when you move it out of Voya is going to have a fee, right, of about $1,000. So in that scenario, you get paid on that rollover, and then you'd have her increase her pre-tax payroll deduction. You might run into that same scenario and go, hey, she's got 100,000 shoved away in there. I'm not on there, or she just moved it to North American. What else can I do to help her? Or you might jump into a university and have that same situation. Hey, that person's only got Fidelity at the University of Michigan. What can I do to help them? I'm a life licensed person only. Well, it's really easy. You're going through that same pitch. The only thing is the end of that pitch is, I'm a little, after the good news, bad news. Hey, I'm a little concerned about your financial advisor. He didn't tell you're only going to make, 42 grand, didn't tell you're 38,000 short, didn't put anything in place to cover it. I'm just curious, did he let you know that you're going to have some tax liability, not only on your 403B, but also on your pension? And then you're going to get three answers back. No. How much do I owe? Well, we can only guess, but it seems like taxes are going to do what? They're going to say going up, right? And then the last thing it's going to do is, what can I do to avoid the taxes? Well, let's start up another bucket for you. Let's start up an IUL and annuity for you. What other monies do you have laying around? Oh, I've got 100 grand under the couch. Great. Let's take 50 grand of that and let's start up an IUL, or let's start up an annuity, or an IUL with living benefits, or whatever it is, right? And then instead of you contributing to your 403B pre-tax, let's stop that. And let's put that $1,000 a month you've been putting away into this post-tax. And then at the end, when you retire, you're going to end up with three buckets. You'll have your 403B that's taxed, your pension that's taxed, and you'll have this one that is not taxed, right? So I think that's the opportunity. Tim, you know what you see sold in that market as well. I mean, it's, the world's your oyster there. I've seen premium finance cases written. I've seen it all written, you know what I mean, on that side. I don't know what you've seen, but.
Yeah, no, and we're getting close up here on time, but, I happen to be 44 turning 45. So, I could be, and my wife used to be a school teacher. She doesn't anymore, but she used to. And I just actually counted it up. I have 5 401ks out of service right now. Now, I'm not 55, retirement's not on my doorstep, but just think about that. And I've been investing in them, at least whatever the company would match, plus, some more if I could do that. I don't have enough to retire. We're still here today. However, when you think about those folks in their 40s, I mean, that could be, you could have a spouse that has some unmanaged 401ks from previous spots, right? And, you do assets under management. You can perfectly move that right over there. If it's timing's right, maybe they're thinking about, turning some income streams on in their 40s and what that could potentially look like, and you get them into a growth strategy to where they couldn't lose. So, in addition to what you talked about, is how you actually have the call with, or the appointment with the client. I think also don't forget about the spouses. And I'll leave you with this one thing. I've been working with a guy out of Kentucky, PNC agent, been doing it for about 5 years, wanted to get into the space. Worked actually with Robin, one of the companies, and is still working with them. Called me about 6 weeks ago and said, Tim, you'll never believe it, but this client that I've been working with in this 403B space, she's been telling me that she was going to retire in 2 years. And lo and behold, it's been 2 years, because he's been telling me about this for 2 years too. He said they're getting ready to retire and they have $2.4 million in assets.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden we're talking about peeling off $1.5 million and, $500,000 for legacy, $500,000 for growth, and $500,000 for income. And again, I'm not saying that the diamond is in every single, appointment, but there are definitely diamonds as long as you keep in touch with those clients. And he did. He was diligent, kept a hold of them for 2 years, and now it's probably going to result in a, $150,000 to $200,000 payday for him. Seems like a pretty good scenario to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So next step, guys, hey, take the initiative, reach out to Tim and the team over at IAMS and make that call. And we hope you have a wonderful new year. I'd say do it sooner rather than later. It's easy to get it all knocked out now. You can say, hey, I don't want any appointments until January the 2nd, whatever the date that is. But at least if you get rolling and get everything set up now, I think it's important, and it's a good start to, sort of having the playbook for the playoffs, you know what I mean? And approaching it that way. And those of you who didn't make your goal this year, you got to change what you're doing to get there. And so making some of those changes, this could be your first step in doing so,
Yeah, the worst thing you could do to get off to a slow start in 2026 is to wait till January 2nd to get whatever you're doing for marketing going. We've got a couple of weeks until the holidays. Now's the perfect time. Ask the questions, get set up, get ready to go. Until you start getting the appointments, you're not going to get billed for them. So being prepared, there's nothing that's going to cost you. You're not out for anything other than that you're prepared. You've got a little bit more time to ask questions. And then as soon as you're ready, whatever that is, January 3rd, January 5th, January 10th, then it's ready to go. And you're not saying, oh, I need to get a hold of Rob. Because guess what? There's a lot of other people out there that procrastinate, and they're going to call me on January 3rd and be like, I need to talk to Rob as of last week. Well, don't let next week become last week. Let's do it today. So thanks for the time, Rob Griffin. Appreciate it, guys. We'll chat with you. We'll reach out soon.
Absolutely. Thanks. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Yep. Bye.